Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are watching us from. My name is Comfort Eyitayo, your regular host for Connect with Comfort show. You are welcome. I'm glad you are able to join us today. Today, our discussion is on a very important topic, very relevant to our business goals, and that is about our health. And the topic is Hey Boss, Mind Your Health. Personal health is an important matter that often tends to be overlooked in our fast paced work environment. Our health is very important. We often find ourselves engrossed in the daily grid, striving to meet deadlines and exceed expectations that we unintentionally neglect one of the most valuable assets. Yes, you heard me right, assets, our well being. So I urge all of you to mind your health because, in the pursuit of our professional or business success, it's very easy for us to forget that our bodies and minds as well require care and attention. As leaders, it is crucial for us to set an example, not only in terms of work ethic and dedication, but also when it comes to prioritizing our health. After all, a healthy boss leads to a healthy team, and a healthy team is the only one that can achieve greatness. So it is very important. Today, we will be emphasizing the significance of taking proactive steps to maintain good health. We often hear the phrase, health is wealth. I'm sure you understand why now. You have to be healthy before you can pursue all those goals and the other aspirations. And it holds a profound truth. Like I said, you have to be healthy before you can do all those things you plan to do. Without good health, all our accomplishments and aspirations lose their meaning. Very true. As leaders, we have a responsibility to ourselves, our families, and our organizations to be at our best physically, mentally, and emotionally. As is usual for us on this show, we have a subject matter expert that we're going to feature as our guest today. We will soon bring her on after this short break. Please remain connected. We'll be right back. Thank you.
35 years of lifting weights and open heart surgery, dying 3 times on the operating table, CT. So you should sit down, sir, because of your diagnosis, and don't do a damn thing. Bullshit. Hell no. Every time I go to the doctor, they tell me what I shouldn't be doing and what I should be doing and what I won't do and what I can't do. And I politely go out the door and do whatever the fuck I want to do. And I'm gonna do that until they throw dirt on top of me. This is my life. And I choose to live it the way I want to live it. It's impossible. I've heard that so many times. It's just impossible. Can't be done. It is impossible until some crazy son of a bitch has the audacity to believe that no matter what the expert or the doctor says, I can still do that shit. Will is the key. Will. Willpower. Anytime that you give your best effort, that you give everything that you possibly can give, there is satisfaction in knowing that I did my absolute best. I did all I could do. There's victory in that. Remember what you are. Remember what you are. Remember who the fuck you are.
You are welcome back. I hope you gained one or two ideas from that video. One that strongly resonates with me is that the willpower, because we're going to need that when we factor in what we need to do to remain healthy. Having to exercise require willpower. We'll get back to that in the course of this program. Join me in welcoming our distinguished guest for today. Interesting topic. We have Roslyn Eyenike, who is a corporate wellness coach and a yoga teacher. She's passionate about people keeping healthy, and no, there's no fee for guessing why we have her on our show today. Definitely, she's the one that can talk to us about this great asset that we always put in the back burner when we are planning our business, when we are having these great ideas of how we move our business forward. We always keep it at the back burner instead of the front burner. So she's going to talk, shed more light into it for us. And without much ado, we'll go straight on. I want to welcome my distinguished guest today. Roslyn, you are welcome to Connect with Comfort show. We want to appreciate you for agreeing to do this for us within that short period of time that you were contacted. Thank you very much. We do not take it for granted. And I hope together we'll be able to give all the necessary hints that our audience require to remain healthy so that they can follow that goal that is burning in their mind. Thank you very much. So without
Thank you
much
so much,
ado,
man.
thank you, you're welcome. Without much ado, we'll go straight to the question. And the first one is, why is it important for bosses to prioritize their health? That is, leaders of business. Why is it important?
Okay, so why it's important for bosses to prioritize their health is because every individual, regardless of where you are on the strata of leadership, needs to prioritize their health because your health is also your being. And if you don't have a healthy body, how do you now do your work? How do you, strategize? How do you lead? So bosses are meant to prioritize their health because one, they have to do a lot of thinking and now pass it on to other members of the team to ensure that the task and responsibilities to ensure that the growth of the organization is achieved is done appropriately. Hence, bosses have to prioritize their health.
Thank you very much. Very precise and direct. How can a boss health impact their ability to lead effectively?
Okay, so wellness in general is all encompassing and it goes beyond just the physical health. We have the environmental health, we have career health, we have, spiritual, financial, and other things that, that comes into this wheel of wellness. So an unhealthy boss would definitely filter through that same emotions to their employees or their team members. So if you have an unhealthy boss, remember, if a boss is always calling in sick, it means that someone has to stand in to do that responsibility. Now, if the boss has not led effectively to ensure that the person who can stand in his stead or as stead knows the work in totality or at least 80% of it, it becomes a problem because productivity time is eaten into. Likewise, the output of that responsibility is also affected.
Very correct. Very correct. So we have to have an effective, healthy leader to have progress. What are some common health challenges faced by bosses?
Okay, statistics have it that majority of our bosses and also employees, especially desk workers, are now suffering from lifestyle diseases like high blood pressure, high blood glucose, cholesterol situations, cardiac arrest, dizziness, though dizziness is not really so, I wouldn't want to call it, it's not morbid enough, but it could lead to morbidity. But then some of the ailments that are very prevalent among bosses as well as desk workers would include high blood pressure, diabetes, as we call it, chronic heart disease, cardiac arrest. So these are things that you would find in bosses because sometimes they're not sleeping well. Now I don't want to use the word burning the midnight candle because really it's just students that would have to do this. But for bosses, because you have to come to the place of critical thinking, strategic thinking to ensure that the return on investment or if it's
Is that
productivity, take for example, if it's a fast moving consumer goods, ensuring that the production of goods and the distribution of goods is well done. These people are, these bosses are, they stay overnight to ensure that these things are done. So high blood pressure, blood glucose, cardiac arrest. That's why we now start. We in recent times we have heard that most people slump in their offices, and also because that certain measures are not put in place, like first responder cases. These individuals have to die in the process of taking them from point A, which is their office, to the nearest hospital.
hmm. So we all have to be really, really careful. It's very scary. All those things that you listed just by being a leader. It's virtually all known diseases. So we have to really, really be mindful of our health. Thank you for that. How can stress and long working hours affect both health?
Okay, I had to heave a sigh of relief because stress in itself is good and at the same time can be bad. So we take, for example, if you have a deadline at work, once that deadline is achieved, there's a sense of relief that comes to you. So that stress is good. But bad stress is when you are continuously putting the body, putting the mind into undue pressure without any form of relief or rest. And that cycle continues. So that's when stress starts to affect the body drastically because this leads to insomnia. And sometimes, for those who now are on the big side, some of them now suffer from sleep apnea, which now affects them in totality. So you get to find such bosses coming very grumpy to work the next morning. I mean, you know what we call transferred aggression. They're now transferring the aggression they get from their homes to employees at work. And that is, and some situations like that, if you don't have a good employee who understands that the boss is human and these emotions are valid, they start to take up that. They also bring forth their emotions, which now affects the quality of work that is done. So, as bosses, stress, once it's undue stress over a period of time, it becomes very hazardous to the human body.
And to work environments also,
Yes,
like you talk about transferred aggression. And I think we have a lot of that. And people don't actually realize it when it happened.
true. They don't because
Yeah.
some people would say they expect the employee to understand that
To understand,
this is
yes.
just a situation, but we're all emotional beings. So
Mhm.
if you bring forth to me certain things that I'm not expecting, especially emotions of anger, emotions of sadness, it also can affect my mood. And
Affects you.
in so
That
doing,
is true.
everyone is in a fix. We're trying to work and our productivity is low. And that's why we also come to the place where we say that even employers have to understand that employees can be present, but then their productivity is low. So that's what we call presentism, even within the workplace.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I learned that word today, presentism, instead of absenteeism. You're
No,
present like you're
presentism is
not
the person.
present.
Yes, that's presentism. You're there, but you're
Yeah,
not there.
yeah, like you're not there. Okay, that's good. Okay. So, how can bosses create a healthy work environment for their employee? I'm sure some of these things that we have said is also part of that.
Okay, so in bosses creating a healthy work environment, you know, it will cut across, and there is no one solution to every organization because there are certain organizations that are high productivity, environment. So take for example a shipping company. Automatically, ships are berthing, your employees have to move certain things. And in such situation, it might not what would work for that organization might not work for a normal tech organization. So, but one thing that I would say to bosses is creating an enabling environment where feedbacks are made and not, you're not criticizing an employee to a point where they lose who the essence of who they are and they're not able to be productive within the environment. Two, if it's, ergonomics is also very important because here in Nigeria, some organizations in Nigeria, what they do is they fit the man to the job and not the job to the man. And I'd explain that if a tall person has to use this chair, automatically it starts to create back issues because the person is not in an upright position and in a good sitting posture to do those long hours at the desk. So then those ergonomics, even if it's a work environment that you think is good, it might not be good to that employee. So it's so many things in one, but I think it's creating an enabling environment, understanding where employees are and how we can better situations for employees, likewise employees to employers, because it's not just a one-way traffic, it's a dual traffic. So where employers are trying to make the environment enabling, the employees also should make it enabling for the employers to also bring that to the table.
Thank you very much. It's a two-way road. And one thing that also comes out of this, which sometimes we neglect, like you were saying, even the chair you sit on has to be right for you to,
Yes.
because for those who work long hour or they're in a sitting position for a long time, so it's very important. So these are tips that we really need to be mindful of. Thank you very much for that. What role does exercise, as we saw in the video that we had during the short break, and that's where the willpower
Yeah.
comes in. So, what role does exercise play in bosses' overall health and well-being? And I'm sure I want to say this also goes to employees.
It's for everyone because, like
Yeah, everyone.
maybe my ideology is employers or bosses were once employees or team members who have grown
Mm,
through the rungs of leadership to be where they are. So
mm,
we all have to start, it's a food chain, it's like a chain of command. So we would have to go through
mm.
that. So if we want, sorry, it seems I've added so many things into my question that I don't want to miss it. So if you could just help me with the question so that I don't go overboard.
Okay, like I was saying, what role does exercise
Exercise, exercise.
play?
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, so exercise is in the wellness wheel is where we call it the physical wellness. And now, as humans, we were made to move. We weren't made to be sedentary, but what we have created is that we're now creating a more sedentary lifestyle as opposed to a moving lifestyle. So exercise, like people mix it up sometimes that they feel exercise is just about going to the gym or getting on the streets to walk or to run. But exercise goes beyond those things that we see to even doing domestic chores at home, sweeping, lifting maybe luggages from where they are to another point. Dancing is a form of exercise. And I know that most bosses try to get in some of the physical wellness through squash, badminton, lawn tennis, golf. These are forms of exercises. But and that's why we all have to get into it because it's pretty important for the body where we have the cardiovascular exercises because we are aerobic beings. We have to utilize oxygen to make our daily task worthy and for us to also know that we have the breath within us because without the breath, which is oxygen, we also can't that person is totally dead.
We're not alive.
Hence, every in yes, so every individual, bosses, please, we need to pay attention to our health because it's not just about the mental health. Yes, we're getting the strategy on point. You're acing all everything. You're dotting the I's and you're crossing the T's. But then physically, where are you? And that question has to constantly come as a reminder to each boss beyond every other thing. How am I physically? How am I health wise? So, what's my health status? We can look good on the outside, but internally, if something is wrong, then it progresses into to a point where when it's found out or when it's diagnosed, it's too late to start to nip it in the bud. So we would always say, let's nip it in the bud. We don't want the doctors telling us that we have to pay attention to our health.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is almost similar, but in a different direction. We talked of exercise. This one is talking of diet. How can bosses manage their diet and nutrition to support their health?
All right, nutrition. Food is something that everyone must consume. It is said that a human being can live without food for 7 days, but can't live without water for 3 days. And this is what makes up our balanced diet because water is one of the constituents of our balanced diet, where we have the carbs, we have the carbohydrates, the proteins, the fats and oil, the minerals, vitamins, and water. Now, when it comes, I would not say diet, it's nutritional lifestyle behaviors. So for
Okay.
a boss who has high blood pressure, the boss should know that that diet, if you want to go off the long sustaining drugs that you might be given at the hospital, your lifestyle has to change. So now, what meals are you consuming? Do they have a lot of sodium content? Because the more you take sodium, the more it would spike your blood pressure. And if it goes to a place of morbid high blood pressure, the person can die. Hence, that person who has high blood pressure can take meals with glutamate, monosodium glutamate, which we call MSG, can take meals with too much salt content. So that is for someone who is hypertensive. Now, for a diabetic patient, or a boss who has diabetes, there's certain meals you're not meant to take. Sugar doesn't cause diabetes. What causes diabetes is when the insulin is not able to break down the blood sugar. So giving the body what it needs and taking out what is not needed body. And that's what diabetes is all about. So there's certain meals you might not have to take because if a meal has so much glycemic load, it could spike your blood sugar and that would now affect you. So when it comes to nutrition, I I tilt to the side of eat a balanced diet. But if you are on a if you're on a medical examination with regards to a health issue, be it terminal, be it just normal, then please follow the prescription of either your nutritionist, your dietitian, but creating a lifestyle change. So nutrition is more about eating balanced diet, having enough vegetables, good amount of carbohydrate, proteins, your fats and oil, your minerals, as well as water.
Good. A lot, a lot to be concerned about, but it's good that we're learning. So, what are the warning signs that a boss may be compromising their health? What signs do we see to know that this is done, is happening?
Okay. Okay. So sometimes if you get to see a boss or observe a boss being forgetful, that is a case that the person has to see a doctor, especially for someone who is very vibrant and all of a sudden can't remember very simple things, maybe simple calculations, simple money trends, all those simple tasks that are not meant to take so much mental, ability or capacity. The person is having issues with that. Dizziness, fatigue. What else would I say? These are things that you can observe,
You are surprising me.
immediately.
What happened to the aged? Because they there's a joke that if you start forgetting things, perhaps you are aging.
No, there's certain ages because we still have aged people who are very, their memory is so sharp. They can tell you things that happened when they even started their career. So I think it's also understanding who the person is, who the boss is, and look at those warning signs. So if someone gets
Mm.
fatigued easily, like we have like a 2 hour task, or we're in a meeting for 2 hours. This was someone who could go for 3 hours in a meeting, and 30 minutes into an hour, the person is already fatigued, sleeping, cloudiness within, blurry vision. These are things we need to watch out for, because sometimes you might not also loss of appetite, especially if the person was a very large eater, and all of a sudden, loses every form
Changing.
of enthusiasm to eat. Then sometimes you also need to be able to ask questions and know if it's something happening while which has led to that.
Okay, that is good to know. So, how can bosses incorporate self-care practices into their daily routine? Having known all this
So,
now.
okay, so self-care practices would, range from different things. Sometimes we all say affirmations are forms of self-care, massages are forms of self-care, taking a walk, like having a walk meeting rather than a sitting meeting, is a bit of self-care. Traveling, please, if you're on leave, go on leave. If you have capable hands, no one is meant to call you when you're on leave. A good boss would know, if you know a good boss by the ability for them to be able to go away without any form of task suffering. So if a boss is on leave, please go on leave. Travel if you have to travel. Create, a rest period where you could even make it a non-technology type of rest. No phone calls, no response to emails. That's self-care. Reading a book is self-care. So self-care can be anything to anyone, but finding that thing that brings joy and happiness to you without you trying so hard to do it. So I think that's where bosses should concern themselves with, even though you have to even play, I mean, sit down with friends and just gist along, speak for hours, reliving memories. That's a self-care. It's finding what works and doing it.
Fantastic. We'll go on a short break right now and we'll be back for more questions for our guests. I'm sure you are all enjoying this. Thank you very much. Remain connected, please.
I wanted to give up. I'm done with all the things I'm going through. I'm trying to keep my head up. I try to win, but every time I lose. Should be getting better. I try, but I don't know what to do. Hope this ain't forever. I just wanna make a breakthrough. But something inside said never give up. All of these setbacks are major setups. If I keep on fighting, if I keep on trying, if I aim for the sky, one day things will go my way. One day things will go my way. One day things will go my way.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We continue to give the triad and don't give up. From that video, we have that message. It's one day it will go away, and we hope that one day will be soon rather than later. So, once again, you are welcome back. So, going back on our questions, how can bosses encourage their employees to prioritize their health as well? We talked about bosses,
Okay.
and since we have learned it's a two-way thing, so we have to talk of employees.
Yes, we do. All right. So as a corporate wellness coach, what I always say to bosses is also creating platforms for employees to pay attention to their health. So take for example where we have instructors, coaches come into the organization to create programs for employees. That's one way that a boss can ensure that that environment employees are gaining from it, and also it's also ensuring that even within the stipulated time for that activity, we don't have so much work that would keep employees seated at their desk and not partaking. I know this would not work for every um, industry. Like I said, there are very high paced industries and very slow, medium paced industry and slow paced industry. And in a slow paced industry, it might just be possible for everyone to come around to do the workout. But we can also have what we call the department form of exercise, where instructors go to departments to ensure that their employees, I mean, have this sessions. Two, there could be an in-house gym or health center where employees can go to the in-house workout center to work out. The third would be having a medical center or a medical team within the organization. So take, for example, an employee has a simple headache or fatigue, they could have a resting place. Like when we were in primary school, we had the sick bay where when a student or pupil is not feeling fine, they could go to the sick bay to have have time to rest their head. Also, within organizations, they could create like resting rooms. I've seen organizations that have resting rooms. So if an employee needs that 5 minutes nap time, 10 minutes nap time, they could get there and also have the nap time. And just so many, examples I can give, but I'll just give this little ones and we can start take it from there.
Thank,
Likewise,
thank you very
cafeteria.
much.
Cafeteria is also a place where we can also put that into play. So if you have a cafeteria where possibly you're providing lunch, providing meals for employees, you can ensure that they're healthy bites. The oil that is being used to cook is good. Also, the processing of the meals are also as healthy as it can be.
Very, very instructive. Thank you for that. So, what steps can bosses take to proactively prevent burnout and maintain their health in high pressured roles? You know, there are some that are high powered roles.
Hmm. True. So, for a boss who is in a high pressured environment or a role that, I mean, that says that he or she has to work overtime through is finding time to
Continue.
distress. We all have to find time to distress. So, as a boss, regardless of how high pressured your environment can be, is we need to find time to just unplug because a healthy mind, a healthy boss creates a healthy team and a healthy
Mhm,
organization.
mhm.
Like, I don't like to use this example, but it's also something that we have to say so that people, bosses understand that the day a boss dies, work continues. We would grieve, we would honor the person's death, but work wouldn't stop because the person has died.
Work
So it's also
continues.
important that, yes, so it's also important for bosses to bring that reality check is I have to be healthy enough to churn out my work and churn out excellent work. Also, I need to be healthy enough for my employees, healthy enough for my organization, and healthy enough for my family. Because beyond work, there is something that is whole that we all yearn to go back to family. So I think that's one thing that should be a reminder to every boss that these things are pretty important.
Mm, thank you. How can bosses manage their sleep and ensure they are getting enough rest? That's $1 million question.
Oh, okay. Science says that an average adult is meant to sleep for 7 to 9 hours to ensure that your productivity is high. So for a boss, I know that sometimes you work in high pressured environments, or if you're just starting your business, you're doing a whole lot of roles in one to ensure that your business is able to scale up from just the start point to the next phase of the business. But we need to, when are your very high periods? Like some of us are very excellent when we work in the morning. Some of us are extremely excellent working in the afternoon. That's when we start. And some people are in the evening. So if you're not even able to get good hours of sleep during the course of the night, can you get those hours in the morning just before you kickstart your day? So it's finding those hours within the course of the 24 hours that we're all entitled to also find time to rest because rest is very important. With rest, you're able to rejuvenate, you're able to revitalize yourself, and you're able to reignite the strategy ideas that you have. So let's reignite it. Let's go back to finding, possible avenues to go to sleep because it's going to be hard for me to say a
Definitely.
boss should sleep for 7 to 9 hours within because some
I
bosses
was
are
I
awake
was
till
going to
2 a.m.
yes, I was going to ask. I used to understand that it's perhaps just 6 hours, but you are saying 7 to 9 hours.
It's 7 to 9
That's a,
hours.
that's a lot of luxury.
It's 7 to 9 hours.
Wow. So some of us are deficient in that. Okay, it's good to know. What are some strategies bosses can use to handle workplace conflicts and reduce their impact on their health?
Okay, so for bosses, I think the organization where the boss works or the organization the boss is creating should have a standard operating procedure to also have policies with regards to conflicts and also have conduct policies when these things are in place, when these processes are in place, I don't think the boss would have so much pressure to ensure that these things are done. All we have to do is go back to the standard operating procedure, go back to the policies that have been created, and handle the situations that have been placed before the boss. So take for example, late coming. It's been said in the organization and the policy says that you're given an hour grace just after the resumption time, but you can't do that 3 times in a row. If there's an employee who has done that 3 times in a row, first, I believe there are different reasons why that can happen. Is first understanding what is happening to the employee. If the employee is doing it out of, oh, I don't care about the organization, then you know that measures can be taken to address that situation. But if it has to do with family, take for example, a mom whose child isn't feeling fine and it's been recurring for a couple of days. But then again, the employee should inform the employer, who is the boss, that this situation is happening and I might come into the office
True.
late so that this person now understands how to address that situation should it rear its head. So I think, like I said earlier, it's a dual thing. So what bosses expect from employees are expecting from bosses. So it's how do we ensure that we reach a
Both
consensus in
show
doing these things?
understanding. Mm.
Yes.
Both show understanding and cooperation. Okay, that's true. So, what are some effective stress management techniques for bosses? And I would say for everybody. Like we have just talked, everybody needs to manage stress.
Yes, we have to. Okay, so for stress management, we all find we all find different ways to relieve stress. So for me, it could be meditation. To some other person, it could be yoga or a stretch class. It could be dance. You could just stay silent for a bit. But whatsoever your stressors are, we know that we can only control the things that are within our space. But anything external, then you know, how do I ensure that this thing doesn't stress me again? So, take for example, specific deadlines can't be met because a team member isn't churning out their own part of the task. Then we need to address that situation. Now, in addressing the situation, it's one or two things. We give someone else to do it, which might also add stress to the person, or then we tell that employee to level up to ensure that they're able, because it's teamwork and everybody matters. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So but finding those things that ensure that stressors are not hitting you from the left to the right, north and the south. So it's just finding those things. So sleep is one of that mechanism to ensure that stress isn't overpowering you. Yoga is one, Pilates is another, dance for some people is just staying silent and others just sleep. But whatever works for you, we need to find, each person has to find that thing that works for them, because one solution can never work for everyone. Regardless of how we say sleep, some people have to read a book before they can fall asleep. Some people have to watch a movie before they can fall asleep, especially when
And
there's
say that
so
again.
much pressure.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. How can bosses set a positive example for their team members by prioritizing their health?
Okay, so I think I'll give a good example that I have noticed from the internet. Now, one of the management staff of Access Bank, is it Chima? Amechi, is it Okoli or something? This is someone who cycles, runs, does yoga. Likewise, also Tony Lumelu also engages in this. And there are certain people within his team that have told that line because they've seen their boss do it. So I think in certain example is one is either you're creating the enabling environment and ensuring that that platform is there, It could be a virtual class. It could be having, like some people do Thank God It's Friday. And Thank God It's Friday is also okay. Let's try to relax beyond all the work tonight. I mean,
Wine.
this evening, it's all about unwind. We don't want team bonding events, just going out for a movie, all staff going out for a movie. So in creating, so we all have to find what is within budget, because I know that this could also play a part.
But
Budget can play a part in ensuring that these
yes,
things are done. So as much as I want to give the wonderful solutions, I also have to consider that budget has a part to play. So like I said, it could be as simple as a fruit day in the office, just dropping a zip bag of three different kind of fruits. Like some people see that and like, oh, that's thoughtfulness, and it brings a smile to their face. So even if they were stressed at home, just smiling at you, or even if a teammate just stressed them up, it could just bring light of their spirit. So it's finding creative ways to ensure that we can give employees to also mirror that type of, task, or that type of, platform for others. So it's the different ways to do that.
fantastic. Thank you very, very much. You have done a very, very great job today because number one, you've more or less within that short space of time answered all the questions. I was thinking perhaps cut out about five, but you've done a fantastic job. Thank you very much. And the answers are very straightforward. Some we already know that we don't pay attention to, but coming from an expert like yourself, I think is something that we now need to give a second look at. Thank you very much. I'm sure with this, our audience would have a rethink on what to do about their health because we had to bring this. Yes, we have been dealing with topics on business growth, even personal growth, but hey, you have to be healthy for all that to happen. And that's why we feel it's high time for us to bring the balance to let people see when we keep talking about assets, and our assets always talk of bottom line, money, and things like that. That silent asset that is even more important, I would say, more than other assets because like we said, you have to be healthy and stretching it further, you have to be alive to realize your goal. Just like you said,
Yes.
if a boss should unfortunately drop dead, the work continues. Nobody stops the work. So if you think of that, then you need to give yourself a reality check. So I want to thank you very much, Rosalie. You've done wonderfully well. I'm very appreciative within this short time, and you're able to speak through the topic and giving us a lot of insight. Thank you. I hope next time when we come calling, you will honor our request and not consider us as Oliver Twist.
No, not at all. Like if there are questions and like questions spilling up from this, I'll be willing to come on air again to just speak
Thank
about it.
you.
Because the healthier we get, the better it is for
Better.
the society. Because healthy citizens make a healthy nation. So
Definitely, definitely. And even make a prosperous nation that we all desire. Thank you very much once again. Thanks for coming. God bless you.
thank, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. So we will quickly go on a very short break and then do our roundup section. Please Welcome back. We're at our wrap up section. I'm sure you have enjoyed the contribution of our guests today. The importance of a healthy work environment and the role we leaders play in setting a good example cannot be overemphasized. We have to have a stress and work life balance. There's no way you will not have stress, and she has even gone as far as telling us we have good stress and bad stress. First time I'm hearing of good stress, but she explained it, and whichever way we have to have that stress and work balance. We have to set boundaries for us to be able to achieve the right balance, and we must give ourselves the required rest. If we cannot achieve it as a stretch, she has even suggested maybe during the break you can have that rest, but you must have that rest. That is when your body and mind will be well rejuvenated. Physical well-being, mental well-being are very, very essential for us to make progress. If we are talking of productivity, we also have to have this very important balance. Exercise, do regular checkup, give yourself rest. Stress management techniques, there are many out there, and she has given us quite a lot of hints on this. Let us be mindful of self-care practices. We should encourage healthy habits. Even our nutrition, she said not to call it diet, but our nutrition habit has to be well balanced. And we also must lead by example. Even if we are not able to join the workforce to do some exercise or practice it, let us make an enabling environment that will encourage them to prioritize their health, as well as to inspire our employees to do the right thing. The long term benefit, of course, is for us living longer in good health, of course, not just living. Like she said, you can be present in a workplace and not really be present. So that's not a healthy living. So a healthy workforce, we have been told, would yield increased productivity and happiness for everybody. So we need to really be mindful of this. So as a form of conclusion, I would like to emphasize the importance of taking care of your health. This is for the bosses as well as the employees, especially for busy professionals. I know she has told us that we are, as human beings, we are expected to be moving. We sit a lot, we live sedentary life. We need to find a way of achieving the balance, maybe giving yourself intermittent break and not sit through all day. So we have to be mindful of our health. Is a timely reminder for all of us to prioritize our well-being in the midst of our hectic schedules. Remember, a healthy boss leads to a healthy team and a thriving organization. By making conscious choices to eat nutrition meals, engage in regular physical activities and manage stress effectively, we can not only improve our health but also inspire those around us to do the same. Prioritizing self-care not only enhances our productivity and decision-making abilities but also fosters a positive work culture that values well-being. I therefore encourage each and every one of you to take small steps towards a healthier lifestyle, whether it's incorporating exercise into your daily routine, practicing mindfulness techniques, or ensuring you have sufficient rest, sleep at the right time, or catch up during your break time if you are not able to get the number of hours in the night. Your health is an investment that pays dividends not only in your professional life or business life, but also in your personal happiness and overall quality of life. Let us remember that we are not invincible, like she said, God forbid. Anytime anybody eventually packs up, the work continue. And that taking care of ourselves is not a sign of weakness. That desire rest does not make you weak. So don't feel guilty about taking rest, but rather a treatment to our commitment to long term success. So as we move forward, let's make a collective effort to prioritize our health, supporting and encouraging one another along the way. Thank you very much for joining us today. And here is to a healthier, happier, and more productive future for all of us. Once again, I would like to appreciate you, our regular audience, and those that are joining us newly, for sparing time to connect with us today. Please keep in touch for further assistance on this topic or any topic that we have featured previously. I hope you have all enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Comfort Eyitayo. Once you have subscribed, please turn on the notification button, like and share our videos. Stay updated with information about upcoming events, solutions, and offers on my Instagram account at Comfort Eyitayo, as well as my Facebook at Comfort Eyitayo. Till I come your way again, I wish you a healthier you. Thank you and bye for now.